Thanks to German Knife Shop for sponsoring Everyday Tactical Vids. German-knife-shop.com. Hey, what's up everyone? Tim here from Everyday Tactical Vids, out on a beautiful New Hampshire afternoon. I want to talk to you today about this, which is the Defender 130. I got this from German-knife-shop.com. As you saw at the start of this video, they're supporting the Everyday Tactical Vids channel, so shout out to those guys. If you want to learn more about this knife or other knives that they carry, just check out the links down below in the description section. So yeah, they reached out to me. We started to build a relationship. I was browsing around their website and I saw this and it just jumped out to me. It's got definitely a tactical look, but kind of a cleaver look as well. And I thought to myself, as I engage more and more in survival and outdoor skills over the years, I'm finding I want something with a little heft that's good for chopping, as well as something that can do some of those knife tasks. And this, as soon as I looked at it, I thought this might actually fit the bill for that. So we're gonna talk about the details on the knife, and then we're definitely gonna put it into use. I just got this. I've been looking at it at home, but I haven't actually put it through the paces. So this is the first test we're gonna have using the knife. And then I'll come back in a future video after I've had some more long-term use and let you know what we think about the Defender 130. All right, let's talk through some of the details here. First, your weight is 13.62 ounces. In grams, that's 386. Your end-to-end length is 11.9 inches. That's about 30.3 centimeters. And your blade length is 7.165, which is about 18.2 centimeters. The handle is G10. It does come with what they call their ultra lightweight Cordura sheath, and the blade steel is 1.4110 stainless steel, and we'll talk about that a little bit more in a moment. This is made by Eickhorn Knives. It's Eickhorn, and this is officially called the Eickhorn Defender Machete with G10 handle. All right, so let me give you a close-up here, end to end. Let's talk a little bit about the steel here. It is a stainless steel. It seems like it's a common steel to be used in Germany. And so that is what this one is made of. And then also the CRKT Seismic uses that same steel. So I've used this one a bit. I've used the Seismic a bit more. If you haven't seen my review, check it out. But I've really beat on this thing and it has kept an edge nicely. But a stainless steel, and having used it today a bit, I would say the edge is still quite good, but we'll have to put it through the paces a bit more to, to give you some thoughts on it. So if you're familiar with this steel that they're using for the Defender, leave a comment down below. Let us know your experience from it. If you've got a great website that links to, tons of different information on steel, I dug into it and I just feel like the average user is not asking about sulfur content and things like that. So if you want to dig around and find information on that, feel free to do so. But as far as what most people want to know, it's a stainless steel, and the question is, does it keep an edge well? And so far, yeah, but we're gonna have to test it a little bit more to give you more details on that. I'll get some of the bark away and then just see how it does. This, I gotta be a little bit careful just because there's some moss on top of this rock, but there's also definitely, it's granite underneath, so I don't want to drive the blade into the stone. And this for me, I talked about carving before, but I would say, feather sticking and working on getting some very small shavings off a stick, that definitely still can fall into a survival category for me, because if I've got to get a fire started, I may have to actually process some wood down so I can hit it with even with a match or a fire steel, but things that are dry and very small. So this actually feels like something I might actually do. This wood is definitely old, so I don't want to push too hard. It's just going to snap on me. But you can see already that it can do some of that work. And here's a look at that. Just give you a little close up here. Did a little more work off camera. All right, just to show you a little bit of wood processing here. We got something we'll chop at the end, but I'm just gonna basically chop off these small pieces first. Here's a little bit of a thicker piece. Yeah, and this is pretty dead wood, but definitely is just processing, going right through it. Do a little bit more chopping here. To be honest with you, I was pretty sure this thing wouldn't throw a fire steel just because the edge doesn't feel like a 90-degree spine, but using my Exotech that I keep on my keychain, you could see it will throw a spark off a fire steel. So that's cool. I got some of the wood I processed down in addition to the feather sticks, so let's get a little fire started. So I want to tell you a little bit about what goes on in my mind when I look at a knife like this and why I actually picked this one out. So what I'm finding more and more is when I'm actually working on survival skills. Now I'm not talking about bushcraft skills, while there can be an overlap. I'm talking about refining skills that will make it most likely for me to survive a actual survival scenario, and then those skills I want to pass on to other people. So you get lost in the woods, you get injured while hiking, get lost while hunting, those types of scenarios. So what I found is that all the detail work that you need to do with a knife becomes more limited in a survival situation, and more so I need something that's going to make shelter, that's going to process some wood for a fire, because you know, staying covered and staying warm, especially in New Hampshire, it's going to be a big deal for me, or the main deal, you know, to stay alive for 48 hours, 72 hours until someone comes and finds me if I'm injured. So this kind of cleaver looking blade, and then when I checked the weight, you know, I thought, yeah, that's going to give me a little bit of power when I'm chopping without having it be a huge blade. So something like this makes me think of like the like even bigger than an SE6. Well, I like the SE6, SE6, a Rat 7, something in that category, without going to a full machete or a full-size kukri. And so that appealed to me when I first saw this. The handle is G10, and so it's not going to be something that I'm going to be sitting there carving for hours using this knife. But it's got the lanyard hole, and by the weight of it, it's going to be front heavy. So that chopping is going to be, my guess is that chopping is going to be pretty easy to do with this, and we'll put it through the paces and see what we actually think. This is definitely highly textured, and so it's not rounded like a LT Wright Genesis or something like that, or even something more neutral like a lot of the Ontario Rat series have just a bigger, blockier handle. It's pretty thin, which for me, I often like something that is a little bit bigger and blockier, but having held it and kind of used it a little bit, I'm like, yeah, it actually feels like it's going to do the job. So I said before, it's a beautiful day. It is a beautiful day, but since we're around a bunch of ponds, all the mosquitoes are coming out. Anyhow, so the Defender 130, so far so good. I've liked using it. I haven't put a lanyard on. I'll do that and do some chopping with it in the future. Seems like the edge came nice and sharp. No dings or issues from having used it as I have so far. I will tell you that using it like this versus using it like this, either way for the feather sticking, actually found this is actually maybe a little bit more comfortable to do it that way. Yeah, so far so good. I mean, it does have that weight that I would like to have for something that I'm going to kind of chop with. Again, not a chopper like a kukri or a larger machete or like a SE hungless, but a knife-sized tool that can also be used for chopping. Let me talk about the sheath here real quick. Honestly, it's just nothing to write home about. So it's going to carry the knife, and that's fine, but not a whole lot more, honestly. So there's a look at your sheath. If I were to purchase this knife and have, you know, be committed to this being like, oh, that's one of my go-to knives, I would get Micah from Black Bear Custom Kydex to make something for this. I'll put a link to his website down below in the description section as well. It does awesome kydex. This will carry it. It'll do the job. There's the loop on the back to fit through your belt, and that'll fit a rigger's belt, so something a little bit bigger than your standard belt. Hook and loop to make sure that it doesn't fall out. But yeah, nothing to write home about. It's gonna keep you safe from being injured from the knife, you know, in case it falls. I'm just bending the end here to see how that feels. Can't feel the point coming through. There's a little bit of a liner inside. I don't know if you can see that in there. Yeah, you can see a little bit of a green inside there. So that's the liner, and it's gonna, you know, keep you safe from, like I said, the knife poking through unless you take a major tumble with this thing. So it'll do the job, but I would upgrade and I would do something else. Maybe even leather. If you're into to leather sheaths, you could get a leather sheath made for this thing. I'm in kind of a cool spot in the woods here, so I'm gonna get a bunch of footage of the knife, just, you know, on different locations and stuff, and I'll roll that footage in here, and then I'll come back to wrap up the video, you know, down the road a little bit here. It won't seem like any time on video, obviously, but down the road when I've had a chance to use it a little bit more. So far, I like it, and what I was thinking about it as far as a knife tool, but that can also serve as a small chopping tool, it's doing the job. So the Defender 130, made in Germany by Eickhorn, and again, got this from German-knife-shop.com, links down below. Alright guys, you've seen the knife in use. I'm going to roll in some more footage here of me cutting some rope and some webbing, and then also some hose, just to show you that it can do more of those utility cuts as well. So overall, I've really liked using the knife, and it's functioned well. As I said before, when I got this knife, I was really thinking about having a knife that's compact but still has some heft out there in the woods, and it's functioned that way. It's also going to be, you know, useful as a utility knife, whether in the woods, around the yard, things like that. Couple things to let you know about: the steel continues to hold up. Again, I've dug into the steel a little bit more. I don't know a ton about it from personal use, but now having used it on a handful of knives, it's worked well. No dings, no issues, and the blade is still quite sharp, so I like that a lot. You can see I put a lanyard on here, and, you know, run your hand. You can do it different ways, but run your hand through the lanyard, and then you've got a little bit more control of the knife, especially when you're chopping. If you want to choke back a little bit, you can kind of hold it like this and swing and chop. This little hook up there on the handle, when you are chopping, it doesn't dig into your hand. Sometimes knives can be a little bit more, that could be a sharper angle, and that could be painful, but no issues there. I didn't mention this earlier, but it does have kind of a flat pommel there, so you can use that for crushing. I generally have not done that very much. Some people say crushing and hammering, but I find whenever I try to hammer something with the pommel of a knife, I end up bashing my hand, so I just find a rock usually. I think the cool factor for this knife is pretty high. It's got a slick look, and also that cleaver style I just like in general. I mentioned the handle a couple times. It is thin, but I don't find it uncomfortable to use, and with that choil you can sharpen effectively and also get your finger up there to do some more of those detail cuts. The tip is quite strong, so if you want to, you know, kind of put a divot into something or start using the tip to get a like a bow drill divot started, something like that, I think it should function just fine. The sheath, as I mentioned before, nothing to write home about. I mean, it's going to carry the knife just fine, but if you buy this knife, I would upgrade and get some kydex made. Black Bear Custom Kydex is my go-to kydex supplier and kydex expert when it comes to knives and sheaths for my knives. So yeah, I want to recommend him. Again, links down below in the description section. Price point for this right now is around $195 at the time of this video, but again, it's an investment for longer term. And I think, you know, the main thing that people are going to ask about is, like, if I said S30V steel for this, they'd be like, yeah, or S35VN, they might be like, yeah, or LMAX, yeah. But this 1.4 something steel that a lot of people aren't familiar with, they're going to be like, well, I don't know a lot about it. Is it going to hold up? I'm going to keep using this thing and probably use it pretty aggressively to see how that steel holds up. So maybe that's going to be a new steel that I start liking and enjoying using. The ones I've used so far with that steel have been good. I've got links down below in the description section, German-knife-shop.com, and you can pick up this Defender. There are a couple of other versions. There's some smaller versions of this as well, so if you like the style but you want something smaller, you could certainly do that as well. So let's hear your thoughts on it. I mean, the look, the style, obviously the function. What do you guys think about it? If you own one of these, let me hear about it. I was digging around on YouTube to find out information about the knife, and it seems like this is definitely European focused as far as people who are buying it. So if you're in the US and you want to get something that's unique that most people don't have, or maybe have never seen, this could be something that you might want to invest in. Thanks as always for checking out the videos here on YouTube. Please subscribe to Everyday Tactical Vids if you haven't done so already. Like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter, check us out on Instagram, Tumblr, and Vero as well. More videos coming soon. Take care.